Great.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, Jesse.
Make sure I'm using this correctly. Just one push?
Yeah, like at the bottom.
Is the light green?
There's no light.
Hold it in then.
Push and hold. There we go.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
Hello. Thank you. Hey, my name is Jesse Colaizzi. I am the moderator today. Before we introduce ourselves, I would just like to take care of some quick housekeeping for everybody. This would be for those on Zoom, which we have Matthew Desmond and Elena LaQuatra. Please put yourself on mute, put your camera on. Check. In this room, please do not use your phones in this room. Audio interference with the bandwidth, and that's probably for these things. On the Zoom again, in chat, this is for those watching at home, students in the audience. If you would like, and I would really like to encourage this, to please introduce yourselves on the chat. And now, or as a question comes up, enter questions there. We're going to be looking at them, and we have a few student questions already pulled, but the more the merrier. And we will take them in the last several minutes, last 15 minutes. We also would like to thank for their work in preparing this whole day here today. We have Olivia Casey Houlihan, Kenneth Painter, right there, and Tara Myers. All three of you have done a lot of work to get this whole thing prepped up, as well as Paige Beal, where she is behind pillars. There she is. She's in the compromised view seat. Anyway, thank you to the four of you and everybody else for joining us. And before we get rolling, the PAB, Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters, has a short video to play.
That's me.
We are Pennsylvania Broadcasters, your hometown radio and television stations. In a state of 12 million people, we have a presence in markets big and small, bringing you breaking news, serving your community, and delivering the information you need to know.
And we just got an update from police.
We represent more than 35 broadcast TV stations and more than 350 radio stations. Pennsylvania Broadcasters are a thriving economic engine for the Commonwealth, but it's our community impact that really matters. Broadcast professionals are the living links between Pennsylvania families and the charities, communities, cultural attractions, and events that make our communities better. We are deeply rooted in your small towns and your big cities. Our stations feature your local organizations and businesses, as well as the people behind them. And we are your bridge to the world, bringing news, sports, and entertainment from around the world to your doorstep. We champion a strong sense of civic pride, whether it means giving back or showcasing worthy causes. We work hard every day to bring our communities closer together, in good times and in bad. Your local broadcasters are always there.
I want to get back to the breaking news right now.
Pennsylvania Broadcasters are reaching viewers and listeners no matter where they are, over the air, online, or on your device. Local stations are the #1 source for news, weather, sports, and community information. We are Pennsylvania Broadcasters.
There when you need us.
There when it matters.
Welcome back. Well, what I would like to do is do a quick round-robin intro of everybody. I would like to start with those who are joining us on Zoom. If you could, please, give me your name, what you do, and a brief optional third thing, if you'd like to share a third thing, and then we'll get into more detail. So maybe we could start with Elena in the left box over there. How you doing, Elena?
Hi, everybody. Very happy to be here with you today, virtually, of course. I first have to say, I feel bad. I'm going to have to hop off in about 25 minutes because as things go in this news business, I unexpectedly have to anchor our new newscast, and we have a special report that we're cutting into, so you'll see me multitasking as I'm reading scripts and figuring out the show coming up here in a little bit, and talking with you guys at the same time. But yeah, very happy to be with you. Loved my education at Point Park University, learned so much at that school, and very grateful for all the opportunities I had there. I always knew that I wanted to be in Pittsburgh. Once I decided I wanted to have broadcasting as my career, and I'm very much like a homebody, born and raised Pittsburgh. I went to Mount Lebanon High School, graduated from there, and then of course went to Point Park. So born and raised, and I chose Point Park because of the broadcasting program. I did internships at KDKA and WTXI. TAE, we do not have an internship program here, but after college, I graduated, and there was an opportunity for a part-time job here at TAE. It was within the digital department, but it was still on camera, and it was called the 412. It was like a lifestyle and entertainment channel. So I tried out for that and applied for that and ended up getting it. And it was just part-time, which fit in my life very nicely after college because I had some other obligations. I was Miss Pennsylvania that year, and I worked another job. And so it was a little bit busy, but it worked perfectly. And then once that program ended, I went and I got my small market experience in Erie, Pennsylvania, a couple hours north at WTAE, the ABC affiliate up north. And within less than 2 years, I didn't even finish out my 2-year contract. I ended up getting hired back here at WTAE. I'm coming up on 3 years here at the station. I was hired as a general assignment reporter. I'm now doing traffic anchoring, and filling in on the anchor desk as needed, like today. But yeah, I love my career. I love what I do. The news is always changing. It's always something different every day, and a never boring job, even if you are in studio and you're not out reporting. It's still different every day. Like today we have the special report. It's going to be on the Alec Baldwin shooting out in California about the cinematographer. There's going to be a press conference. We're going to have to cut from our new newscast to go to that, and it's always different. It's a very exciting career. You definitely have to be flexible. You have to be willing to stay late, work very early. My wake-up call is 1:45 every morning. I call it morning, but really it's the middle of the night, and it's painful sometimes, but I get by with a lot of coffee. I currently have my phone propped up against my Yeti mug, holding my 3rd cup of coffee of the day. So it's definitely a career that's not for everybody, but we all work very hard at the station, and we love what we do, even though it's chaos and tragedy. Today marks three years since the Tree of Life synagogue shooting. 11 people lost their lives, so we're doing, of course, reports on that today. So some days are on tragic scenes, and other days you get to report something happy and positive to share with the community. But yeah, it's a great career. I love it, and if I'm still on the call, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Sounds like a wonderful day to be flexible. So we will have more questions for you. You actually answered a bunch. She's great at that. Thank you. Let's meet Matt. Matt, if you want to give us who you are, what you do, and an optional quick third thing, and then I'll get into more questions after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. And Elena, it's nice to see you here. We went to school together. But yeah, my name's Matt Desmond. I'm a video producer with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I actually went away from Pittsburgh for about 10 years after my time at Point Park University. It was just an opportunity to kind of see what's out there in the rest of the country. So I worked in college athletics for 5 years at Baylor University and also the University of Cincinnati. From there, I took my career going into the professional sports scene, where I spent 3 years in Major League Baseball, working for the Oakland Athletics. And then, you cutoffs, but through that, I was able to find another job with the NFL League office. So I work with them as a segment producer, and that has led me back home to Pittsburgh, where I'm a producer with the Steelers, but also operate my own production company in the off season. So it's just a great opportunity to be back in Pittsburgh, and really enjoyed my time at Point Park. Jesse was actually, one of my professors back then, and we actually went to the same high school. So it's just such a small world. So you always got to keep your contacts close to you, because you never know when you're going to be able to see someone down the road that might be able to help you out, or you might be able to help them out. So my message to you is just stay open-minded throughout the whole process, because you never know when you might cross paths again with someone you went to school with, or a professor you were sitting in the back of their classroom. So it's great to be here today, and I look forward to answering any questions I can for you.
Thanks, Matt. And he was a front row student every class I had him in, too. One of my faves. So we have also two panelists meeting us actually here in person. We have Amy over here and Eric. Let's meet Amy and then Eric.
Hi, guys. I'm Amy Mauk. I am currently a regional promotions manager for Audacy Radio. I oversee Pittsburgh, Greensboro, North Carolina, and Greenville, South Carolina, handling promotions for the group. Have a staff of 3 other individuals right now. That's down from a promotions team of 30 individuals here in Pittsburgh prior to the pandemic. So you can see how things have changed from before. We're starting to ramp up with hiring again with part-time promotions people, and love having the relationship with the college and the universities, because that's where I get the best students and the best learners and the people that want to come into the industry. So I'm super excited to have those opportunities back to kind of engage with the students a little bit more. I also do have students that come in and shadow the radio station, and not just with me and my department, but with the other departments. So I kind of help coordinate and facilitate that across the board with the radio station. If you want to sit in with the show, I help coordinate that. If you want to sit in and learn in the newsroom, I help coordinate that. So I have, it's a fun for me to connect with the students to do that. In addition to promotions, I handle events and marketing here in the Pittsburgh region. So we do a number of events, and we're ramping those back up. Right now, we are doing those with charitable partners. For example, we're doing a wig out tomorrow for Young Adult Survivors United. And it's an event where individuals will wear wigs, come out, and celebrate that group, and we'll raise funds for it as well. So those are fun things that I get to do and plan and be part of. My background, I went to school, not here unfortunately, at IUP for Communications Media. I've learned the greatness of the school essentially after my graduation. I graduated in '99. I did an internship at Good Morning America in New York, and after my schooling, and then I worked there for 2 years, and then I moved back to Pittsburgh. And I've been at the same radio group ever since, so 20 years at the radio group, starting at KDKA Radio as a producer, then moved into promotions, events, and then overseeing the department of the 30 individuals here in Pittsburgh, promotions, events, and marketing. And then during the pandemic, was given the opportunity to go regional. And the benefit of that to me is just this past weekend, I flew out to LA to work a big concert out there called We Can Survive with Doja Cat, Maroon 5, Black Eyed Peas, Kid Leroy, and got to work the PR Green Room, which was super exciting. So, there were some positives out of that, and I'm extremely excited to kind of continue moving forward with the local office and the opportunities in the national office as well.
Thanks, Amy. And let's meet Eric Williams. Sorry.
Hi, yes, my name is Eric Williams. I'm a senior account executive with KDKA Television here in Pittsburgh. I can't believe I'm saying senior. I started working with Paige and Mike when I was just starting out. So it's time fairly quickly to get to this point. So what I do is, with a senior with an account executive, is basically a salesperson, right? So I'm in charge of generating revenue streams for the TV station. So through various your local plumber or, restaurants, stores like that. So, I'm a Point Park alum. Glad to be back. And if you have any questions, feel free to roll them out. I know sales is one of those things, like, I went to school here for broadcast journalism. I wasn't planning on getting into sales. I don't think a lot of people do, right? It's just one of those things sometimes you fall into. Some people do. Some people are natural born salespeople. But if you have any questions, I can help you if you're looking for, different career paths. Sometimes it doesn't seem as cool as promotions. And it's yeah, but it has its pluses. Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. A quick introduction of myself. My name is Jesse Colaizzi. I'm an independent producer and editor. I work on several shows for Discovery Networks and Discovery Plus. A new series called Mysterious Creatures with Forrest Galante, which will be premiering after New Year's. Several Shark Week specials, including 2 this year, Jaws of Alaska and the Black Demon Shark, and then in 2020, Land of the Lost Sharks, which happened to be the highest rated and streamed Shark Week that year. And so that's pretty fun. Also an editor on Pig Royalty and a couple other things. All that with a studio called Hot Snakes Media, and our primary network that we work with is Discovery Networks. And I do that all in my pajamas from my house here in Pittsburgh, which is great. Years before that, I spent a lot of time working locally here and got to know a lot of these folks that you see here very well. During my time here at Point Park, I was a student a ways back, but also after that, was hired to be an adjunct faculty member as well as a staff member, and my job was to start up UView, the campus TV channel. So that was a fun little project. And all of these folks up here were involved in that at one point or another. So one thing that we all have in common here is that we all have careers in broadcasting, which happens to be the name of the panel that you're seeing right now. So I would like to thank you guys at home for watching and everybody here in the room. I've got several student questions, but we're also keeping an eye on the chat. Friendly reminder, if you have a question, pop it in the chat. We'll take a look. Maybe we'll get to ask it. So I would like to start with a student question. This one's from Delaney Menikosh. Are you here? Hey, there you are. I think we've met, maybe virtually. I might have guest spoken at a class you were in. But she has a question that is, what is the best starting point to get into broadcasting, which is kind of you could probably write several novels on this topic. I would like to hear what you guys have to say about this. Let's start, since we know that our time with Elena is limited and that she's got a bit of a schedule shift. Elena, unless you're in the middle of a task right now, would you like to answer that question, or should we come back to you?
Yeah, absolutely, I can answer it. What was the question? Just what is the best route?
The question is, what's your favorite pizza? No, I'm kidding. What is the best starting point? And this could be something you speak personally about to get into broadcasting.
Well, absolutely take advantage of as many opportunities as you can while you're at Point Park. It's great to get involved, of course, in the the news station and get practice on the anchor desk, even if it is just for college. Practice makes perfect, and I find I'm still learning here too. And my news director's phenomenal. He'll call me in and he'll give me critique and advice and really help me so that I'm growing as a journalist and a presenter on camera. Additionally, do as many internships as you can, even if they are not for credit and not paid. The more, the better. I think, too, it would be helpful if you want to get into traditional journalism to not only do one at the big stations in Pittsburgh, if that's your ultimate goal, or whatever big city that might be, but into a small station as well. There's a good chance that small station might hire you right out of college. So why not start developing those contacts and relationships early on, as soon as you can. So I would say definitely the internships is the way to go. And you can sit at a desk and learn, and the professors are phenomenal at Point Park, but there's nothing like that real world experience and actually being on the scene of a homicide or the scene of a fire or sitting at the anchor desk and actually practicing a newscast and reading from a prompter with breaking news. So I think just get as much experience now so that when you are ready to graduate, it's kind of a smooth seamless transition into a job.
Thanks, Elena. And, Amy, I'd actually like to ask you the same question. Since you work in a different, Elena's on camera, and you're part of running the operation. So talk about how you got into that.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that you want to do is network. You want to connect to people, you want to keep those relationships, and you want to reach out. So while you're in school here, learn the different, maybe different opportunities you might want to be at someday. Find people within those companies, send them a note on LinkedIn or find out their emails and reach out. You will probably be surprised that some will return your email and allow you to come in and shadow. I never pass up an opportunity. I've never turned down a request from anybody that has requested to shadow the radio station. If all of you stand up and want to shadow, I will figure out times to do that. So there are people in other organizations that kind of have that same ability, and you have to be careful because not everybody that doesn't return your note is just not a nice person. They're just busy, they're busy with what they do. I appreciate what you guys are learning, to do and want to do, and know that you're the next stars in our industry. So I'm a big advocate of getting students in to do that. So networking, keep those relationships, get LinkedIn, connect with people on LinkedIn, use your social media accounts very wisely with people that you've met, because you're always marketing yourself. So just be aware of that as well. Whatever you put out there is your future job persona as well.
Thank you. Very good. And I have, on the similar topic, a question for Eric Williams here. You had mentioned that you kind of fell into what you did, and a student had submitted a question, Jalen Dunn. I don't know if you're here today. But did you fall into broadcasting, or is it something you pursued? And maybe you could speak to that note about how you specifically got into sales. I'm interested myself.
Right. So, like I said, I was a journalism communications broadcast major, and I interned at a radio station here in Pittsburgh, WAMO, right out of school, and actually in the promotion department. So I was in the promotion department working there. They were doing away with my position. I interned there, I got hired, and then they were eliminating that position for promotions. And so one of the sales managers, or the GM, came to me and said, hey, we have a position open in sales. So I looked at it. I didn't really see myself, excuse me, as a salesperson per se, but anyone will tell you, like, you go to the radio stations, the TV stations, you always see the salespeople like driving the nicest cars, right? They had the nicest cars, like, they were doing the funnest things every once in the hockey games, the football games, things like that. And I was like, I'll give this a shot, right? So I did. I started in sales, and then it was natural for me. It's one of those things, like, I think for a salesperson, you have to be, right? You have to be somewhat outgoing, right? The other part, they can teach you. They can teach you the systems on the computer. They can teach you all the other stuff. But the part that's in you, right? The one to succeed, the competitiveness, to go out and not be afraid to, knock on doors or, call people on the phone and get over those type of hurdles. So that's kind of how I got into it. I just saw what other people were doing, and I, right out of school, I was like, I need a job, right? So I ended up just kind of falling into it. My dream was like to be in front of the camera, right? That was my goal initially. But then coming out of school, and I saw that I needed I wanted to have a job and a career. Sales has provided that to me over the past 30 years.
So this was essentially started very early in your career and has turned into a very fruitful endeavor for you.
Yeah.
Excellent. So on a similar topic, I'd like to talk to Matthew Desmond here, an old friend. Your job is you don't necessarily work for a broadcaster. You are working for a sports outfit, and I'd love it if you could first kind of give us a quick bullet point overview of what exactly your job is with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and exactly how did you wind up getting there since your earlier days, if you could speak to that.
big misconception is you don't really end up in the pros right away. You have to work your way up to the professional level. So I was fortunate enough to kind of know what I wanted to do right out of college. So I started in minor league baseball, worked a ton of hours, got a ton of experience, and I was working in live productions. And I quickly learned that it really wasn't my passion, and I really wanted to make short form and long form content and really hone in on my storytelling skills. So I spent 5 years working in college athletics, worked my way up into the pro ranks, working in Major League Baseball, then worked with NFL, and saw an opportunity to come back and work for the Steelers. And in my job, working for a professional sports team, there's different variables that go into the day-to-day responsibilities. I'm shooting, highlights at games, but there's much more than that. It's a lot of storytelling components that happen throughout the season. So for me, I'm focusing on, different storylines that pop up. Each week something new, pops up on our radar. So we have to articulate, what's going to be the most compelling story to our fans and our fan base. So for this year, we had a good amount of people be elected into the Hall of Fame. So there was a good storyline there for us to really capitalize and relive the history of the rich traditions of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we, on a day-to-day basis, we look at those storylines before the season and the off-season. Then as the season develops, we look and see what kind of content we can put out. So for me, on a weekly basis, I can be doing anything from, editing, high-intensity hype videos for, fans to get excited about, or really honing in on those long-format documentary-style videos to really educate our fans on the rich history that we have, maybe with an upcoming opponent that's coming into town that we haven't played in quite a few years. So there's a lot of different variables that go into the job, but with me, I work with a lot of high-profile athletes, and there's a lot of great storylines with them themselves. You might know them for the football player they are on the field, but we really want to showcase them for the player that are off the field as well. So there's a lot of different things that go into working for a sports organization, and it's been a great journey so far.
It has. I've enjoyed watching it from my, sideline view of Matt's career since he graduated from here. It's been wonderful to watch. I'd like to ask a question while we still have her to Elena. Again, I should preface this, is now a good time. I want to make sure I'm not taking you away from important prep work. Is that a thumb up? Yes. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you something. Today, sorry. So the name of the word of the day for you sounds like flexibility, and I'd like to talk and shift our topic a little bit to skills required for these kinds of jobs. Today, some sudden changes have been dropped onto your plate. I'd like to ask you to talk about those a little bit and talk about some of the skills required in the day-to-day, things like using today as an example, where suddenly you're anchoring the noon. What are some of those skills that your job requires, and maybe even speak a little bit to some places where you've learned those in the past?
Absolutely. You know what's interesting about broadcasting and being on camera particularly is that you are using a lot of real-world skills that you're only going to learn if you're out there doing it. First of all, you have to be very confident. Once you get to a bigger market, you're obviously on camera in front of hundreds of thousands of people. So you have to be confident in yourself. Sometimes you're ad-libbing on a story. You just arrived to scene of breaking news, and you don't want to say anything incorrectly, or that's going to get you in any legal trouble, but you still have to fill a minute, 2 minutes of time. So, that takes confidence to be able to get through that. Also, flexibility, like today, where last-minute changes happen all the time. Even, last-minute changes in the newscast. Breaking news comes through, and you have to be able to ad-lib and adapt and adjust. You have to be very prepared. When I was a reporter, so many times I found myself out on scene, pouring down rain, and I'm in a jacket that's soaking wet because I didn't bring a raincoat. So I eventually learned I'm just going to keep everything in a giant bag, and my photographer is going to have to deal with this massive bag in his news truck with everything imaginable in it. Rain boots, snow boots, gloves, hat, everything. And then I think you have to be able to connect with people. And, when you're a reporter especially, and in hard news, there's certain empathy and understanding you have to the people you're trying to interview. Often you're going up to somebody who just found out that, their son was murdered, or that their mother died in a house fire. She wasn't able to get out. And you have to go up to them and ask them if they want to talk in a very diplomatic and sensitive way, and you may get screamed at, and you may get told to get off their property, and you have to not take that personally. But in the moments where they say, sure, I'll talk to you, you obviously have to be very, very sensitive, and you don't want to be the reporter that's very aggressive and making someone feel worse about a situation that they're in. So I definitely think that's a very important skill and quality too. So there's a lot, but you know what? They're really real world type of qualities a person has to have, I think, and it's just about getting out there and putting yourself in front of a group of people, get comfortable talking in front of a crowd, and really experiencing it. That's one thing with this industry. There's only so much you can learn from a book or from school. It's really a lot about just getting out there and trying it and learning as you go.
That's great. I have a follow-up question, and I apologize. My Zoom eye line is horrible. It's been 2 years, and I haven't mastered it. Elena's right there. But one follow-up for you is, specifically today, what kinds of pivots did you find yourself needing to make on the fly when you came in or first, woke up, or however you found out that your day was going to be different than usual? What were some of the immediate pivots you had to make in order to make what's going to happen in 9 minutes happen?
I'm sorry, can I comment on what did you say?
Pivots, P-I-V-O-T-S. Sorry, my mask has me sounding like Kenny from South Park. But what kind of changes did you have to abruptly make today in order to accommodate changing from being an assignment reporter to being an anchor today?
Oh yeah, well I'm a girl, so there's a lot of changes that happen with the makeup and the hair and the outfits. But you really have to be prepared for anything day to day. Not only getting stuck late, maybe on breaking news or something, but just outfit changes, wardrobe changes today. I didn't have to do too much because I was in studio doing the traffic, and then I just sort of had to transition into an anchor role. So to prepare for that, of course, I'm reading scripts and filling myself in on what's happened throughout the morning that our reporters are out on. But yeah, it's a very fast-moving business, so you really have to also get good multitasking and doing 15 things at once. I don't know if I can flip my video around, but you'll see I have my iPad with scripts, I have our news desk computer with our scripts, I have my laptop, I have my personal cell phone, I'm on this cell phone, and here's the studio. You guys get a little tour here.
Love
We have our wonderful crew here
Hi,
at the
crew.
WTAE. We have the weather over there. We have like 3 meteorologists in the back, but they're all hiding. These are some of our different shots that we can do. We can stand along any of these walls with all these TVs and this is where I do traffic from, right here in the morning. So there's a little studio tour for you. And I do believe we are sometime soon allowing people, strangers, if you will, back into the building for shadowing and tours and stuff. So if anyone's interested, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to see if we're allowing that back in the building.
Excellent. And is there anything in their last moments we have with you today that you'd like to share with students in college who are looking to maybe pursue a similar kind of job that you have?
Yeah, you know what? I say just take advantage of all opportunities. I think that's the biggest thing. I know I've said it so many times, but the more real-world experience you can get, especially while you're in college, before you're frantically looking for a job, the better. And really take advantage of all those opportunities. I love the advice about networking and getting to know people. Stay in touch with people. I'm very close with my Clark, Michelle Wright, all the anchors here. I was close with them before I got my jobs here. I was close with them when I was back in high school, actually. So I think it's really important just to maintain that network of people and work hard and really be a hustler, especially as you're starting off. Just really show that you want it and you're going to be the reporter that's going after it, and just continue to work your way up to what you want to do.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking time today to help us, considering all the other things you have going on. It's great to hear from you, and good luck. Break a leg. Break all the legs.
Thank you so much. And anyone feel free to reach out to me. I'm easy to find all over social media.
Nice to meet you, Elena.
Awesome.
Take care.
See you guys. Good luck.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, so my next question is for Amy here. As we know, Amy works in promotions, and I would like to hear about the skills that you kind of deal with on a day-to-day. What's a usual day like? What kinds of lessons that you had learned earlier in your career are paying off now? Those kind of things, if you could talk to those.
Sure. So my strong skill set is like organizational planning and implementation, and it's an odd skill set to define sometimes, but you have to be able to connect with people, all different levels, all different people that you're working with, be able to, go from working with our account executives that we have in radio to working with the on-air personalities and making sure that things happen and move forward. So I'm very adept at getting things to move forward, because if you don't, there's lots of loose ends floating out there. Multitasking. They say multitasking is bad, but you really do have to be able to jump from one thing to another in a given day, from our websites to our social media to planning an event to putting together a press release to working on marketing for internal use or external use to planning staff parties. It all falls on the person that can get that stuff moving forward. So therefore, those types of things kind of all filter through me. It's a blessing sometimes to have it, but a lot of the questions that people have within the company, they come to me to get answers because they know that I will find them. So, it's because of the role that I'm in, I collaborate with everybody in the building. Not everybody does, I do. So you have to be able to get and motivate and push people to get the things done that you need done too. Not everything is things that I do, but I work with other people to get those done. Graphics, need graphics done. I can't do the graphics. I have to work with the person that's going to. I have a deadline, so I have to make sure that they're going to get their work done. The account executives have great clients that we work with all over the city of Pittsburgh. Some great opportunities, and their clients want to make sure everything happens well and is buttoned up on their end. So I have to work with our account executives and with their clients as well. So I work hand in hand with our account executives to make sure their clients are getting what they need at an event, within a promotion, or anything like that. So it's a lot of juggling. It's a lot of being able to jump from thing to thing. It's a lot of collaboration with different people. It's keeping people happy a lot of times. That's not necessarily something you can ever always do, but you have to be able to mediate and make sure that people in the end are satisfied with the outcome. And usually, you want them to be a very positive outcome as much as possible. So yes, it's a skill set that kind of combines a lot of different things coming together, and you're always on. Your brain's always working. You're always thinking about those next marketing things and those names and those brands and how to push things forward. So it's not something I thought I would be doing, but I found out that that's where my skill set lied, and promotions kind of brings all of that together.
Thanks, that's great. And Eric, I would like to also talk, what's nice about our panel today is they represent a nice variety of different kinds of jobs in this business. Eric being in sales, I'd like to ask you the same question about skills required and how that relates to the bigger picture of KDKA.
I would say, a lot of people say this, being a self-starter, being motivated. Each quarter, right, I'm given a certain budget number that I have to hit. My manager will come in and say, hey, here's what you're responsible for your revenue to help the station, right? So the revenue goes into buying new equipment, paint salaries, things like that, right? So each quarter I get that. So I have to break it down. Normally I go into a quarter and I say, here's where my budget is, how am I going to get there? And we work with promotions a lot to come up with ideas to say, this is how we're going to get X amount of dollars. I would really say, again, being organized is helpful. Really no fear. Being a problem solver. What I do is I go into your job a lot easier if those things work. You know, the worst thing, no one wants that call, right? That didn't work. You're sweating bullets. So it's really, you know, how my day goes is I'll wake up and I'll have my list of people that I'm going to call for that day. I'm following up with things that I've already proposed, bigger packages, or I have a list of people that I want to reach out to who are possible new clients who I'm going to call for that day. And, you know, I think it's, you know, probably in the neighborhood, they always go, well, what's your closing ratio? That's one of the things, how many people you talk to versus how many people actually sign up. And it's, you know, if you can close 25 to 30%, you know, that's considered pretty good, right? So you figure out that you have to make maybe in a quarter's time, you know, a year's time, maybe you have to make 100, you know, presentations to close 30 of them, right? Which, you know, is not terribly bad, you know, depending on how much those 30 are for. So you just figure it out, you back it in, you back into your number, see how much you have to do, and go.
Cool. Thank you, and very interesting. Next question's for Matthew, overlording us on the big screen here. Similar kind of question, but with being that his job is kind of a different from your usual broadcasting job, I'd like to ask you, you know, is your job a game day only kind of a thing? Is it a all week kind of a thing? Is it an all year kind of a thing? And also, and if you can you speak to the point of like maybe following one little project? How does a little project go for you, a single project, if you have a single project that you could use as an example, I guess?
Yeah, so I'm in a unique situation. So I work as a seasonal producer at the Steelers. So for me, I work 40 hours a week, and I'm in the office Monday through Friday and Sundays on game days, working on multiple projects. So on a given week, I might work on 3 or 4 videos, and it just depends on just the complexity of a project. Some videos will require a lot more attention and attention to detail. Some will be faster than others, but every project will require some type of pre-production and just planning on the overall feel and direction. So right now during the season, I'm doing a NFL film style documentary series that goes out every week. So I kind of, you know, get the gauge of direction I want to go into at the beginning of the week, just kind of following up on the storylines, and then kind of seeing how those develop throughout the week. For me, I'm always keeping a pinpoint on, you know, maybe who's injured or who's going to be making a storyline that, you know, fans might not be anticipating. Like for example, you know, the week before the bye week, we played the Seahawks, and the Seahawks have a really good quarterback in Russell Wilson, but he wasn't making the start. They had their backup, Geno Smith, starting. So that kind of really changed the dynamic of what we were looking into. So that's just kind of, you know, my experience with the Steelers. Outside of the Steelers, I do a lot of freelance for other companies and sports and outside of sports. So it really allows me to, you know, be a little more open-minded when I work with clients, just kind of taking a different perspective and listening to, you know, each and every company's, you know, direction they want to head in with each project, because every client's different. So you just got to be open-minded and think about how you can make a greater impact with their vision. So I guess my advice for people is just be open-minded, because you never know where the journey might take you.
That's great advice, and it actually kind of transitions us into a topic I wanted to get into next, which is, to me, the most concrete topic of any student could ever want to hear. That's advice. What are some things people can do now, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years of college, and even if you're in graduate school? What are some pieces of advice that all of you guys have? We'll go one by one around. What are some things that happened that you did early on that paid off? What are some mistakes? You can even talk about mistakes. I'll leave it open to you. Anything that was a really great piece of advice or a learning experience, I should say. Let's start with Amy here, and then we'll move to Eric, and then Matthew.
I would say be confident in yourself and do not be afraid. Let me rephrase that. You're going to have fear. If you don't have fear, you don't care. if you're not nervous about what you're gonna do next, you probably don't care about it enough. So push the fear aside and have confidence in yourself that even if you do fail, like, you've made a step forward by doing it, because you're only gonna get better. The other thing that I will say is, once you've been in the broadcasting field, media field over the course of a few years, you will learn how close-knit Pittsburgh is and how everybody is connected or knows each other. It's like 1 degree of separation here. Don't burn bridges. It's, you could easily have a bad experience working with somebody, but that person might know, 10 other people that might have your opportunity down the road. Also, no matter who you're working with, from the receptionist at the front desk, that receptionist might actually be sitting up there for a few hours, but their role is not just, like handling, the phone calls coming in. And they also might be the closest person to the CEO of that business. Treat everybody with respect, and you'll get that respect right back at you. So those are kind of a few pieces of advice that I will share.
I'd like to speak to several notes on those too, personally speaking, and I know I'm not a panelist, not to say, but Rob Johnson was the first person I ever met in my first job at KDKA, gave me the strongest handshake ever, and every day I saw him after that, I tried to out-squeeze his hand, and it never worked out. We have the same birthday too. I also would speak to the fact that the tight-knitness of the communities, it's no different in a local market like Pittsburgh as it is nationally. I can tell you with the work that I do, I've come across the same players with multiple studios over the course of over a decade. It's a big business with very few people in it. And that being said, let's also hear the same question for Eric Williams. Again, any advice, but also early experiences that you could learn from.
First of all, it is true about Rob Johnson.
Yeah.
He's a large man, like 6'8", in hand.
He's the security guy, or was the security guy at KDKA, and he let me in. So,
I guess for sales, if you're looking to get into sales and not on purpose, like right, not necessarily fall into it, and that's your career path, I would say, some things that challenge you, to maybe take you outside of your comfort zone. Maybe some sort of volunteerism for, canvassing for like maybe, a political candidate, something like that. Something where you have to go and experience some sort of adversity, right? You can knock on doors, have people close the door in your face. Something that builds up that thick skin that you're going to need basically in sales for when someone, like I said before, it's maybe 25, 30%. Most of the people are going to tell you no. And you're going to have to be okay with that, right? And not take it, to heart and personally. I still, don't get me wrong, I still, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you buy this? This is the greatest thing ever, right? So I still sometimes feel that way, but, I don't let it eat at me, and you have to move on and move on, on to the next one. So anything that you can do, if it's volunteer or intern, that, creates some sort of adversity, that takes you outside of your comfort zone, that pushes you, I would say that's something you can do if you're looking to get into a career in sales. And that's just not broadcast sales, that's sales in general. You're selling tires or wheels or whatever it is. That's
microwaves.
Yeah, microwave, yeah.
I want to say that was a 30 Rock joke, but sorry. Been a few years since that show was on the air. Thanks, Eric. And Matthew, I'd like to ask you the same thing, but I've known Matthew for a really long time. I've watched his career for a while, and I want to preface this question for Matthew by saying, if you get into a job and you are good at it and you do well and you can demonstrate that you're competent, you will move up very quickly. And I say how tight-knit and small our working and professional community is. It's also desperate for new talent. And so, it may seem like a barrier to entry to just get that first gig, but I can promise you that if you get a first gig and you do it very well, it'll go very noticed. And Matthew, I think, is a great example of that. Matt, could you talk a little bit about, again, I want to frame this all around advice and useful information for those watching today. But maybe you could use your own story to kind of give that advice, if there's a way to do that. going to ask for the impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, I entered Point Park, wanting to be an on-air personality. So it was a very different direction for me. So I spent my freshman year trying to get as much experience as I could. So I tried to get experience on air, got experience with the radio station, even did a pilot for creating my own TV show. And sometimes not a lot of those things are going to work out, but you're going to find out real quick where your passion lies. So for my biggest piece of advice is get involved early, and I think that was such a big platform for me to figure out what I wanted to do. And I think storytelling just really jumped out at me and said, okay, this is a really cool impact that I can have in someone's career. So that's my biggest piece of advice. And you got to be hungry to be in this industry, because if you're not, you're not going to last in this industry. So you really have to go into this career, being able to take chances, being able to keep learning, because I've been in the industry for 10 years and I'm still constantly learning. The minute you stop learning is the minute you stop caring. So you need to make sure that you're really passionate about what you do, and you have to keep constantly networking. I constantly network with at least 2 to 3 people a week, even in my stage of my career, and it allows you to stay up to date on what's going on, and being open-minded, like I said earlier on. Sometimes in your career you might not know what path you might be going down, but if you keep an open mind, the opportunities are going to be endless. So that's kind of what I would say in a short and sweet kind of basis. Just keep networking, keep that positive image, and the rest of the story is going to be written for you.
Well said. Thanks. And before I get into my last question for all of our panelists, Tara or Olivia, have there been any more audience questions that came in on the chat? No. Nothing here. And how about in our audience today? Whoever raises their hand first gets a question. Okay, well, I'm going to get to my last question, and I'm working backwards here. So let's talk about college, and when you were in college. What was something that happened that, either something that you did or that just kind of serendipitously arose that you didn't even realize it at the time, maybe you did, that led to this career you have now? And I'd like to start with Amy, and then we'll go Eric and then Matthew.
Okay, so when I was in school, there was a group called National Broadcast Society that I was a member of, and they go on trips every year, and I think that's part of the reason why I joined, because I love the idea of going to these places. Went to Boston once, went to New York City once. Well, the trip to New York City aligned perfectly with the internship interviews that Good Morning America was doing at that time. They brought in a lot of people at once. You met with different departments, and then you picked your top 3 departments you wanted to intern in. And the timing aligned, and sometimes that just happens. Sometimes that timing aligns. I was able to do an internship at Good Morning America, was about to finish my internship. Internship obviously is part of school, got 12 credits for it that summer. My internship was wrapping up and I wanted to stay in New York. Again, a job opportunity opened up right as I was leaving my internship. So sometimes timing aligns. And some of that you don't have control over, but you do want to be in the right place at the right time. So you do want to kind of put yourself out there at times to be part of those groups, to be part of those opportunities, to say, I want to stay here. And, hey, that job opportunity opened up, and they looked at me and said, you're the right person for this. So, yeah, very serendipitous opportunity because timing aligned.
I'm a strong believer that you can prepare all you want to, but what it comes down to is that last little stroke of luck for you to be able to take the opportunity. How about you, Eric? Do you have any good old stories from when you were first starting out?
Yeah, I would say, again, like I said, I kind of fell into sales. But I think maybe what college taught me in some of my classes, when looking back, probably on my air checks was a good thing, right? So maybe that's not what I was suited to be. I wasn't supposed to be in front of the camera, right? I just wasn't that good, right? So, but I think having still being able to want to work on this side of it, right? I could be selling windows, right? But I still wanted to be a part, in radio and television and things like that. So I interned, like I said, at the WAMO, and I got the job in promotions at WAMO, and ended up ultimately in sales there. So I think, you know, in a kind of backwards way, I knew that being, you know, a reporter or in front of the camera wasn't my path, right? So I took the opportunities that were given to me and ended up on set.
And it's true, like, you know, ad sales is something that runs this business. Nobody gets paid without that. And it happens on several ends. You either are selling advertising space or you are selling and pitching an idea for a show. Either way, you're meeting in the middle and matching those with audiences. So interesting. Matthew, let's hear from you. Was there a moment earlier in your career, possibly in college, or shortly thereafter, or before? It could be really any time where the same kind of thing. Something happened that made you realize this was the move, or that allowed you to actually get into this business?
Yeah, I think, you know, in college and then after college, you know, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And then when you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. We're in this industry to learn, and we're here to develop. So, you know, there was instances in colleges where I might have made a mistake, and you know, you got to make sure that you take those as learning lessons and apply them to future projects. For me, you know, shortly after, you know, being in the profession, it's okay, I made a mistake, you know, how do I capitalize on that, and how do I go out and do it better the next time? So really just come in with a, you know, a positive, you know, mindset, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all do. We're all human at the end of the day. So just don't beat yourself up when you make a mistake, because at the end of the day, we're all going to get better and proceed with life. So that's kind of what I would say.
Excellent. And I don't remember any of your mistakes, Matthew, just letting you know. And I'd like to say the same thing. You know, getting involved. Is everybody here in undergraduate or graduate school right now? Like, so you're at Point Park. I'd like to say this. You know, there's so many opportunities here on campus to practice what you want to do and make your own pathway of it. You know, there are numerous, you know, out-of-class opportunities where the pressure of grades is off, and it's just strictly learning on your own terms. And I feel like, you know, for me, when I was in college, that's what I did, and it allowed me to, you know, always be pursuing the thing I wanted to do then, and not have a 5-year plan or hope that in 10 years I was doing X, Y, Z. If there was something I wanted to do then, I went for it and did it, and was happy about that, and got to build off of that in the moment. And so I would say all of these people's career stories, you know, follows that same thing. Amy took the opportunity to go to New York and do the internship interview. Same with you. You realized your air check wasn't as good as you thought it was, and you were being honest with yourself. That's a very important thing. With Matthew, learning from your mistakes, apparently he made mistakes. I don't remember that, but then again, I have rose-colored glasses with all of my former students. And so, you know, all of these things are important, and you're here to make mistakes. You'll never get a chance to make a mistake without consequences after you leave. So college is a great place for that. With 2 more minutes, do we have any questions from any of these inquisitive minds here in the audience? Well, you've all been excellent listeners, and I hope that you guys got something from this today. And via a page or with Kenneth, if you have any follow-up questions, we're all reachable that way. And I wish you all the best of luck in your college time and lives. Have a good life, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.